Good afternoon and welcome to Today on Bay TV. I'm Liz Cairns and this is Rachel Hopkins.
We are joined today by Swansea Council Cabinet Member for Culture, Tourism and Major Projects, Councillor Robert Francis Davies, and Senior Partner at Dawson's Estate Agents, Chris Hope.
Welcome both. We're going to have a little chat, but first we're going to see the Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell arriving in Probert, which he arrived at the station earlier this morning.
How are you doing? All right? Doing great, thank you.
Now, the Shadow Chancellor has described the cancellation of the electrification as absolutely appalling, and it demonstrates for me, which is obviously his wording, exactly what this government is all about. They're abandoning Wales, basically. What are your views and your thoughts, actually, when you heard the news?
Well, I think it's rather cynical that we've been promised electrification to Swansea by David Cameron, Osborne. Before the election, we were promised it. And then the day before, or when Parliament is breaking up, it is slipped in that it's not going to have electrification down to Swansea. And the reason? Well, we'd be inconvenienced, all the work being carried out. So it makes you wonder how the people in England are now going to be so inconvenienced with the high-speed trains going right away up through England. You know, they care so much about Wales that they don't want us to be inconvenienced. I'm sure the £445 million that it was going to cost, they'd probably give it to Wales instead. Perhaps we can spend in other ways. But it is an absolute nonsense, and I think it's disrespectful to the people of all of West Wales.
And how do you think the non-electrification will affect the properties?
It probably won't have as much effect. If I'm being truthfully honest, because people will still get here, still come here, they still look to relocate back to Swansea or come in the first case. But it would have made life much, much easier. There's no question about that. And it's the future. I just don't understand why we can't have the future today.
How do you think, obviously people are starting to lose faith because, as you say, we were promised and then just before the election it was pulled back. Do you think they're going to be able to sort of build that faith back up in any way?
Who knows? You know, there's the electorate are a funny lot, you know. Many votes have gone the different ways that I would predict. But we were promised it, and we were told that it's not going to make much difference. You know, we still be 15 minutes with electrification to Cardiff, getting to Swansea. In other words, you know, they've saved us 1 minute, they say, and from Cardiff to Swansea. If electrification is right, then the electrification should come in. It is the future. The sooner they invest in it, the better. What I would hope they would do now is that they save this money, is to give the go-ahead for the Tidal Bay Lagoon. Because the Tidal Bay Lagoon, I can't find anybody in our region who's against it. Electrification is cleaner. We will need this power. If they want to put a boost into this area, let's get the Tidal Bay Lagoon. I'm sure the government will listen to this and give that a go-ahead. Sir Charles Henry, who did the independent report on it, said it was a no-brainer. So therefore, pull their finger out the government. Let's get on with it. Let's make West Wales region a great region. It'll be a world first. The electrification, it may not save a tremendous amount of time getting from Cardiff to Swansea, but it was promised. Why promise it if you don't keep your word?
And surely it's not just about the time that it's saving, it is about being ecologically better for us. And we're so proud of our countryside. So surely, you know, is it a lot to do with that?
It's cleaner, much cleaner to have electricity, you know.
It's also progression as well. And our lives and our world is changing, which I'll come on the smaller property aspect later on, but it's the way we should be going.
Yeah.
Well, on properties, everybody is now looking at how can we get people out of poverty. We want to have houses that, you know, produce their own energy. There's a tremendous amount of research coming out of Swansea University, the advancements coming out there where people can get out of fuel poverty. We're building houses for the first time in 40 years in Swansea where an annual bill would be something like £70 for all the energy. So you've got local authority pushing ahead with it, the universities and the academics finding a way to do it. The demand is there for property in southwest Wales, but we need that communication. We need better communication by rail. We need better communication. We've got an airport in Cardiff, but if you live in West Wales, you're driving through narrow country lanes to get to the Wales National Airport. It needs better communications to get to the airport, but get better communications by road and rail to Swansea. Yeah.
The Shadow Chancellor will be holding a speech later on in West Wales, which we will be covering at 6 p.m. on our news. We have had good news, though, lately, haven't we, with regards to the Swansea
2021.
I just went blank then. Yes,
yeah, 2021.
The culture, City of Culture.
City of Culture. Yes. We missed out last time to Hull. We've learned from that. We had, I think, a much better application we put in this time. We're down to the last 5: Paisley, Sunderland, Stoke, Coventry, and Swansea. I think we got a really good chance of winning it in 2021 as long as all the city get behind it. It actually brought £3 billion worth of investment into Hull, much needed jobs. I think Swansea is the natural capital of culture in Wales. You know, we've only got to look at Dylan Thomas, but, you know, we say what is culture, you know, to people. I know Chris, football is culture to Chris, you know, having been was it Leeds you played at one time?
It was, good
memory. And, you know, and if you're an Osprey supporter, or even if you're a Scarlet supporter, you know, in our region, rugby is culture, food is culture, you know, the natural beauty around us is our culture. We are so blessed to live in a fantastic region that all of Wales, I met this week with Ken Skates, the Minister, and was putting resources in behind Swansea's bid, so this will be a Swansea bid, but it's a regional bid, but it's an all Wales bid, you know, so we are out to win that, not just for Swansea, but for Wales.
It will help the economy and everything, wouldn't it? And even with the City of Culture, I suppose it's showing people we're here as well, because a lot of people don't really recognise Swansea as definitely not a city of culture, but not even as like a town or anything. People don't really know of us, because I think from Cardiff upwards, if you say, oh, I come from Wales, and you say Cardiff, they've heard of Cardiff, but sometimes they don't really know Swansea exists, so I think this would highlight.
I would disagree there, because as the Premier City of Wales, we are probably branded bigger than Wales, bigger than Cardiff. We are, because of our Premier football team, which Cardiff haven't got, we are recognised globally now, and the marketing that that's doing for Wales is tremendous. So, but if we are the City of Culture, as well as a Premier City, the amount of attention that will bring in to Swansea. In fact, I had Linz in Austria contact me last year, in 2009, the European City of Culture. They want to have links with Swansea, and that's great, you know. So it does put us on the map, but I think the Swansea Football Club never underestimate how much they have put us on the map as well. Mm-hmm. I'm sure some of the players would be buying a lot of houses as well through you.
There's no question. Since the football days, and it's not just the football, please don't get me wrong, but there are plenty of friends of mine within my industry who come down to Swansea to start it off to see the game in that sense, and just realise how much we got to offer, how close the city is to the sea, and some brilliant beaches, which, with respect, in other parts of the country, you just don't get. So there's a lot of eye-opening when they do arrive. So I think we're in with a very good shout. Really do.
Absolutely. You know, I think, as Dylan Thomas said, we were the graveyard of ambition. That wasn't, not that we didn't have ambition, it's just that the quality of life is so good when you move here. Yeah. Quality of life, why would you want to move anywhere else?
A lot of people come here to university or even for a job, or they meet a boyfriend, girlfriend, and they never leave for that exactly this, you know, the beaches. Yes. And the likes of. But in the papers recently, there's been a lot about littering after events and everything, and it's a shame that can't be rectified, again, to make even more improvements to our local wildlife.
Yeah, it's the people of Swansea that have gone and left litter. There was a touch rugby tournament on the weekend. Everybody went down, they had a great time. Let's be fair, Swansea Bay is fantastic. But then they all went and left the litter on the steps and on the beach. And, you know, if they've had cans and the plastic, you know, that gets into the sea, that affects the wildlife. And it's everybody's responsibility to keep our city clean. We've had a lot of cuts in our budget in Swansea. and we've specialised in putting our money now into education, social services. A lot of our other areas have had to take huge cuts, up to 50% cut in budget. If you've got to run your home at 50% less, how will you manage?
I'm sorry for not to cut you there, but you will be staying with us, both of you. And thank you both. Next up, we'll be taking a look at the papers. See you after the break.
Welcome back, I'm Rachel Hopkins and this is Liz Kens. Still with us are Chris Hope from Dawson's and Councillor Robert Francis Davies.
Shall we see what's been happening in the papers today? Yeah.
Great.
To begin with, the Times, end of diesel and petrol car. The Daily Telegraph also goes with the same story, diesel car ban to cut pollution. And again, The Guardian, ban from 2040 on diesel and petrol car sales. UK plans to follow French commitment to take polluting vehicles off the road. Daily Mail, war on diesels getting dirty. Tolls on polluted roads and all petrol and diesel vehicles banned from 2040. And then the Financial Times, electric Mini to be built in UK by BMW despite Brexit. Now, the story, I listened to it this morning as well and obviously read it in the papers. The fact that they are saying that by 2040 all cars will be electrified, what are your views on that? Because that's a big statement to make.
I think it's a little optimistic. I know it sounds a long time away, but I'm just not sure if it'll actually happen completely with this being a blanket ban. The electric cars have been here for a little while, but the cost of acquiring them, not so much running of them, it has been difficult to sort of put into your budget of buying a car. Again, the idea is it's a case of who's going to pay for it. Are the public going to have to pay really high costs to acquire the car? Because somebody's going to lose a lot of money. Somebody's going to lose a huge amount of money.
In England, they're on about, again, raising the road tax again for vehicles that are now diesel. Whereas, was it in 2001 where the government was pushing for everybody to buy these diesel cars, and now there's this big U-turn on it. Like a lot of people now are complaining the fact that you told us to do this, but now you're telling us that because we listened to you, we now have these hefty fines. What are your views on that? It hasn't come down to Wales, but we don't know what's going to happen in that respect.
True. Well, I personally think it's a great idea. You know, it's not often I agree with the government, but there's one thing that I agree with them on. I had a test drive the other day in a Tesla, and what a fantastic car. A colleague of mine just bought a Nissan Leaf, which is an electric car. There are a lot of hybrids as well. The hybrids will be able to be used. I think it is the way forward. They're cleaner. What they've got to do is make sure that the life of the battery, the energy, gives you better mileage, distance, you know, because they've got to be recharged up to, you know, every 200 miles. Well, you know, we don't want to go on a run and every now and again stop and plug your car in for an hour. But we've got to build up and make sure that we have the facilities to charge the cars. It's got to be a completely different way of thinking. They're silent, they're quieter, but exceptionally efficient. And once you start the mass production of them, the price will come tumbling down. They might be a bit more expensive now, but when you look at places like China with 1.2 billion people, where everybody going back 20 years ago was probably going around on a bicycle, now they're all got so many cars, and the pollution that's coming out of there, they are pushing forward hydrogen and electric cars. We have got to go forward in that pace, and it's been good that they've announced the new Mini going to be manufactured in Oxford by BMW. The price, I'm sure, will tumble down and make it affordable, but we've got to have the electricity charging points ready. But it's quite ironic that they've announced this now when the trains coming from Cardiff to Swansea will be diesel. Now then, they're trying to assure us, on the other hand, the government, that diesel is polluting us and bad for us. And on the other hand, they said, we don't want us to be inconvenienced. Let's have diesels from Cardiff to Swansea. So I think they're not telling us the truth somewhere. But I'm all in favour of electric cars by 2040. People can actually budget for that and get ready for it.
What about people now, as in people, say, of Swansea, who bought these diesel cars because the tax should have been lower for them? These are people who were probably less privileged. Do you think maybe there should be a subsidy for these people who have to get rid of their cars?
Again, I think the theory is brilliant, but I'm just not sure the practicalities of that's happening is likely to happen. We've all gone to buy cars to try to get more miles per gallon out of your cars and so on. And at one stage it was petrol, then it was moved to diesel, then it was back to petrol. Now there's more back to petrol and diesel cars will fade out. It's down to whether the manufacturing companies have got the ability to pay and whether they're going to be looking for subsidies to create the cars, because you can't create the purchasing from the public's point of view unless the cars are there ready to be bought. Otherwise you're buying them one by one and that'll be very expensive.
But the main thing is the infrastructure as well. well. Whereas we can just drive into a garage and put your diesel, put your petrol in. You know, it's not as easy as just to drive in a carriage, plug it in. Then 1 hour later, you're still waiting there for it to charge. You know, I think we'd have quite a big queue. There's enough queues in Swansea now.
Oh, that would be my fear, that I would run up. I'm hopeless now, if I'm honest, putting petrol in, and I think I would worry about continuously recharging enough to reach the destination as well.
But I bet you never live without your phone, do you? You plug that in overnight,
I tend to leave that at home as well.
I think
it's a home phone, not a mobile phone.
The technology for the battery, that will be critical in the sense of, and forgive me, I can't say I'm completely up to speed on it, but I do believe that it'll have to be a case of a bit like filling up your tank within, inside 4 minutes, 5 minutes. That's what a battery will have to do. Most people will still stop, they'll pull in, they'll have a sandwich, they'll have a comfort break, but yes, it will be in a position where it only takes minutes to recharge.
And making sure there's enough of them in the rural areas as well, because that would be, I think, a concern of people who obviously live in the countrysides, to make sure that there are facilities for them, which obviously we have loads around here.
We're looking at 5G services now, and the future's going to bring that probably we'll jump in a car in the morning, it'll bring you to work, you'll get out, the car will just go back home on its own. But then we've got to have access to the internet, you know. Sometimes I used to drive through the uplands and my phone would cut out. We can't really have that with a car driving through, and all of a sudden the internet cuts out and your car goes veering off the road or something. You know?
And also, we're talking about cars being electrified so that it's ecologically safer. What about sort of going backwards to go forwards, and there being better facilities to walk to work, cycle to work, and the likes of? I know we don't always have the weather, but maybe if we, you know, had the right gear, perhaps it would encourage people. You know, it would be a cheaper option to still be ecologically
become a generation of convenience, and it's a case of we want it now, because not because that's being what's the right word, critical or impatient, but it's what the world is. You know, you now will turn things on straight away. You don't have to go and find a phone box. It happens straight away. So I think that we've just become, whether it's food, fast food, or even good food, we just expect things that much quicker these days. So I think that the walking part, whilst it's a great idea, we tend to be having cities...
It's too long.
It takes, that's probably
it. If you live up the top of Town Hill, for instance, it's easy to walk into Swansea, downhill. I don't see many people walking back up Town Hill, 600 foot above sea level from nothing. You know, it's you know, pretty steep.
Yeah.
And we're speaking about cars and the convenience and that, and the BBC knows a number of drivers aged over 90 tops 100,000 for first time. Now, I can imagine a lot of those drivers, bless, would not want to be walking up Town Hill Road or walking to back down, or even walking at all, bless them. Now, the DVLA have said that more than 4.5 million of the 39 million people holding a valid licence are over 70. But yet, they've also revealed that drivers over 70 are 3 to 4 times have fewer accidents than men 17 to 21. So I know what a lot of people are saying, oh no, they shouldn't be driving, they shouldn't be on the roads. But then we have on the other side, where Swansea University study it was in 2016, have said that the youngsters are probably more dangerous on the road than over 90s. So
it shouldn't be age sort of governed in that sense. It's ability. And if you are 19 or 89, if your ability to drive is fine. But I think that there is a need for maybe retesting, in the sense of making sure you're up to speed with, forgive the pun, the changes in laws and bylaws and everything else. That's probably what's more important. But I don't have a problem.
But with the laws, that's going to be interesting when we have driverless cars, you know. Can you be drunk in charge of a car? Wasn't my fault, my lord. You know, the car just took me that way. You know, but so the technology now is such that the laws are going to be changed, and people have got to talk into all these different things. But going on to electric cars, it is important that we are self-sufficient in the UK. And in the first half, I told you about the tidal Bay Lagoon. That is why it is so essential. If we're going to have everybody charging up to electric cars, we need to have the power, and we need to be able to get that power in our region. And it's got to be affordable, it's got to be reasonable.
We're literally back to a chicken and egg within reason, in the sense of providing for the energy and then having the interest and the keenness to do it.
Yes,
absolutely.
Well, hopefully we'll be speaking about the tidal lagoon and the fact that it will be nearing us, hopefully soon.
Well, everybody's got to get behind it. It's such a great technological advance for the world.
Well, BTV
and
definitely
Swansea
behind
first.
it.
Always has been, in fairness.
Definitely. Thank you both. And after the break, we talk about the local property market with Chris Hope from Dawson's, and Councillor Robert Francis Davies is still staying with us.
See you after the break. Welcome back to Today on Bay TV. We are joined by Chris Hope, Senior Partner of Dawson's Estate Agents, and Mr Swansea himself, Kev Johns.
It's a great title, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what you have to say.
On my
That's what
driving
you have to
licence.
say.
On my passport, Kev Swansea.
So, Chris, we're going to talk property. And as we were speaking earlier before the break, how things have developed over time. And I know that drones have been a massive thing within the papers and everything lately. And I know you use the drones.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago where drones were only for big budget films, but all of a sudden now as part of marketing, just things have changed, things have moved on, and the public or any buyer wants to see as much of the information they can before they make up their mind. You know, a number of years ago, probably 10 plus, somebody parked their car, took the children and the dogs, walk up and down sort of Walter Road or Mansell Street, go back with 2 trees full of paper and bring us back in a week time to say, I'd like to go and see this and this and this. Now they expect to know the ins and outs, they expect to know already the colour of the curtains and everything else that goes with it. But the drones are great to showcase the properties, maybe not properties which are in the middle of developments because you're just going to see other houses around, but you can drive up to some houses and not realise the amazing view from the back or gardens that they've got and things like that. So I think you've got one or two which gives you a flavour of it. A little short.
Shall we have a look?
Please.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, is it for sale? Because I'm interested.
I'll let you know. No, it is one that's coming on the market shortly, but it just proves the point that for the right property, not every property, because as I said, some houses don't have the benefit of it, not the benefit of it, but benefit for having it. But it just shows a different perspective from a buyer's point of view as to what the views are like, what's around the corner, who are you close to. That actually probably has about, I think it's 3/4 of an acre of ground, just about, maybe an acre. But you wouldn't see that in one standard static photograph.
No. It's a little bit like selling the dream in the fact that you're giving somebody the ambience.
You're selling the reality, though. That's the difference. It isn't it doesn't look like when you get there, you actually see that itself. But
those views are real, aren't they?
Oh, they are, yes.
No, I mean, yeah, fair play.
Do you find that people make a decision a lot quicker now through seeing those types of views?
Yeah, no question about it. People are forearmed far, far better than they've ever been before. So that they come there expecting to know that it's apart from maybe the wrong word to say touchy-feely business, but it's a business where you will want to go and see the house still, but that will want you to go through the door that much quicker when you've seen it. And those things are available through YouTube or through the websites. And we usually send it as a taster for people who are thinking about sort of buying a property, and we'll say, look, this has come to the market in 2 weeks, 3 weeks' time. If it's of interest to you, let us know.
Shall we have a look at another one?
Yes, please.
Fabulous. breathtaking.
I mean, drones are not governed with property value. It's governed really by the benefit of the property itself. So you may have a lovely little cottage at the bottom of a stream, and it's there to showcase what's around it as well as the house itself. So that particular property in Southgate does have the advantage of sighting onto a golf course, its own not private, but a walkway down to the beach, and with an ordinary photograph on ground level, you would never see everything that had to offer. But that's what will bring people, whether you're local or whether you live away, you're going to want to go and see it.
I noticed at the beginning of the video it was Fine and Country rather than Dawson's. What is the difference?
It's a sister company. The Fine and Country tends to deal with properties which are of a different offering, in the sense that, again, it could be a two-bedroom flat, but has amazing views. It's a different brand in that sense for our properties, but it does tend to be the higher end and the very good quality properties.
Right.
Kevin's got signing.
It certainly does.
Kev, you've bought a few houses in your time, though, haven't you?
Yeah, not too many, actually. No, I think
Don't tell the tax man.
No, I've not. We
One.
because I used to be in the church ministry. Our first home as a married couple was a church house. Then we moved down here into a property in Goside, and then we've lived in two houses. So no, I've not bought many here. I would love to. I see so many houses I would love to buy. I would love to buy that house in Southgate. I really would.
Most people move because something happens in their life and there's a need to. Rarely do people just say, should we move house? It doesn't happen. There's a need to upscale, downscale, move for job reasons or health reasons and so on. So, but it's great.
And people are buying houses later in life now, and they are a lot. Yeah.
Our first-time buyers now, 40 years when I started, they would be first-time buyers. They would be in their late teens, early 20s. Now they're in their mid-30s. And that's the average first-time buyer age.
It's a lot harder these days, they say, to get onto the property market.
Yeah, they don't need to, is the short answer. They don't need to have to buy a house, whereas a generation ago, it's what you did. You born, you grow up, you went to school, university, you come back to Swansea, you get married and you buy a house. And it was sort of in those proportions. Now it isn't. You can have a house much later. Usually there's a lot more property which is left to people in that sense through grands and granddads and so on. But as I said, it's what people. We're still a nation of homeowners rather than rentals, even though that's growing.
My daughter rents a flat in London, in Putney, and there are three of them in the flat, and they pay £1,400 a month rent for a two-bedroom.
A good deal then.
Council flat. I mean, £1,400 a month. You can imagine what you could get for a mortgage of £1,400 a month. You would kind of know being in the property game, but so often now you're paying for postcodes, aren't you, as well? Postcodes do determine a lot the price of what you buy.
Oh, it does. There's no question about it at all. I think the rental market here, as much we mentioned students earlier on. A student probably a generation ago would be happy to take anything they can find and accept the fact that there's water coming out of the walls and everything else. Now they don't. So they expect to have their 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
There's different laws, isn't there?
Not so much laws. I just think that the parents are saying, I don't want my son or daughter to live in a house like that. And they expect a great deal more. They expect Wi-Fi. They expect big plasma TVs. And why not? We're in an age where you can get a nice big plasma TV in Tesco's for, £200 sort of thing, whereas 5 years ago they'd be £2,000.
That's true. I think standards have been raised now, and the expectations
are higher, and
Yes. There's a lot of competition then within rentals and sales.
I think there's this rentals in particular. I think people are buying more properties at the same time the government with the various tax matters. By 2020 you're going to lose all the tax credits you can get for interest relief. Various things you can really, if you're going to be looking to buy 4 or more properties.
I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to stop you there. But after the break, we will be keeping Kev and chatting to Bay TV's very own fitness guru, Emma Probert, and she has some exciting news for us.
Welcome back to Today on Bay TV. We are joined by Bay TV fitness instructor Emma Probert, famous for her show Shape Your Life Every Day on Bay, and also Mr. Swansea himself, Kev Johns.
Why would you put me on the settee next to a fitness guru? What planning, what mind would do that?
It was a fix.
Fix?
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
We have plans for you now.
Do you? I don't mind.
Bit of aerobics first.
Yes. We've been doing an hour long now, sure.
Hour long.
Just exercising.
I exercise a lot because despite I am overweight and I've had a lifetime battle with weight, but I play football, I ride my bike every day, I'll go to the gym. I'm quite physically fit. I did the Swansea bike ride the other day, but I acknowledge that I have got a lot to go back to where I was, you know. Maybe 8 years ago, I'd lost 4.5, 5 stone, and the right way, but it's life circumstances. I have breakfast at 6 in the morning when I'm on the radio. By the time I come home at 10, that's dinner time. So you have something, and then at lunchtime you think, well, I can have lunch now, otherwise it would be rude not to, you know. And that is the problem. I'm
lifestyle, isn't
I'm a snag. Yeah, but I can't blame that all the time, because even with a bad lifestyle, I need to show a little bit of discipline, and it's a battle for me. And I think it's, you know, I come fatigued as well because I do have a busy life, and sometimes the only thing I can do to relax is sit down and maybe have something to eat.
Yeah.
But Emma, you've got big news at the moment, and I was going to say, well, you look like you've put on a bit of weight, but that would sound wrong.
Oh.
But there's a good reason for that.
Worst thing to say to a pregnant lady.
But that's what I wanted it to be a link, and then I thought maybe not.
Oh, bless you.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Emma.
How far gone are you?
I'm nearly 16 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So obviously you haven't really put on weight at the moment.
I have
was
a
just
little
thinking,
tummy coming.
Oh, my heavens, where?
That's just a good curry.
How are you feeling in yourself, though?
Honestly, I felt terrible. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot harder than what I thought, you know. And I think it's because my lifestyle is so busy. I run my own business. I haven't really slowed down much. So probably a little bit of my own fault as well. But it's hard, isn't it? Juggling business, juggling your everyday life, and having to sort of take heed and sit back for a little bit. So
I think that's one of the main things. Although they say with exercise, if you're a hardcore exercise before, if you're a trainer, before you actually become pregnant, continue.
Yeah.
But at the same time, listen to your body.
I think the training isn't the problem. It's my running my business and the fact that I'm so busy all of the time. Obviously, I'm not lifting as heavy weights as I was, and I've had a lot of problems with my SI joint, so I actually can't squat really low and lunge. So I've had to adapt quite a lot, but I'm fine with that. It's just the tiredness, and I'm having a lot of headaches. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody's told me it gets a little bit easier from here on in. So
it does. Second trimester's a lot easier.
Brilliant.
Third trimester, well, just wait and see, because it's different for everybody, isn't it?
As long as there's a gap in the middle where I have a little bit of an easier time, then I'll be happy with that.
That's a very American way of putting it, isn't it? Trimester.
Is it?
Words
I think that's what it's called, isn't it?
I don't think.
Yes, it is.
They are.
I've recently had a baby, and I'm sure I was spoken to in trimester.
It is trimester.
Yeah. I mean, I've had baby brain ever since, so, you know, I mean, I can't remember that long ago now.
That's my excuse, and my son's 20, but there we go.
I've been told it doesn't go, so, you know, that's our excuse anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what would you recommend? Because, of course, they say to continue exercise. However, it's different for everybody. And in the first trimester, you do have headache, sickness. So what would you recommend to anybody out there? They've just found out they're pregnant and they want to stay in shape.
What I would definitely say is if you haven't exercised previously, be very careful, especially in the first trimester, because the hormones actually relax the muscles so much. And this is what's happened with my SI joint. So even though I was careful, you've only got to make the slightest incorrect move or twist the wrong way. And because the muscles are so relaxed, you can actually, you know, I've knocked my hip out completely. So yeah, it's just be careful. And I would say just lower weights if you do lift weights. Cardio is great, and maybe just up your cardio and drop your weights a little bit more. But again, listen to your body, and when you need to rest.
Speak to a professional like yourself and your doctor. Always back it up, isn't it?
They're going to advise you. I mean, you hear a lot of people, and my partner was chuffed with this, because when we went to the midwife, she said, okay, so exercise for 2 and eat for 1. And he sat there with a big grin on his face, because so many people say, don't they, okay, you can eat for 2.
Yes.
And so he said to her, he said, really? Does everybody do that then? But yeah, it's just being careful and being sensible. I mean, a lot of people use it as an excuse to just eat whatever they want. to take that time to relax. And don't forget, you're housing a baby now as well. So it's important that you stay fit and healthy for both of you. So just gorging and having the excuse to eat rubbish is not going to do your baby any good whatsoever. So if you're not putting yourself first, then put your baby first.
And I think it's really important, vitamins, because obviously the baby takes a lot of the vitamins that we intake. Yeah. So you should take more.
And I think that's the biggest part with sort of the headaches and the sickness and the feeling drained is because the baby's taking a lot of your nutrients. So yeah, make sure you're taking in a lot of vegetables, a lot of protein. Protein is really, really important for the baby to grow. Omega-3 is fantastic because obviously the baby's brain is developing and things like this. Obviously it's important for us, but I'm not, obviously I know how to eat, but I'm now targeting on what's going to be good for the baby. So yeah, you do need to take a closer look. And there's so much information out there now. And actually the NHS have been really great because they've created a little booklet. They tell you what to eat, they tell you what not to eat, what mistakes you can make, etc. So it is definitely worth reading up on that.
Kev, you must have a hardcore, rigorous type of life. Well, within the pantomime industry, it is. It is demanding on your body, on your mind, everything. And you are appearing in Aladdin.
It's quite funny, here we are in the middle of summer and we're talking about pantomime, aren't we? But the whole thing has just been announced at the Grand, and the cast has been announced. I mean, I've got a play, I start rehearsing a play on Monday, so I've got other things before panto, but I signed my panto contract back in February, you know, so I knew from February what I would be doing. I had an idea before that even. So, and then once the Britain's Got Talent thing was sorted, Matt knew if he was coming back to Swansea. And then about a fortnight ago, we found out Tony Maudsley, who's from Benidorm, and who's a huge talent. You know, he's a magnificent actor. He went to the Welsh College of Music and Drama, and, you know, everybody sees him as this character, but there's a lot of depth to him as a performer, and he's going to be a fabulous genie.
So you'll be performing in the Grand Theatre between 15th of September and 14th of January?
Yeah, probably. I have no idea. I've not read the poster yet, but that sounds about right.
It's actually 15th of December and 14th of January.
Yes, sounds good.
So that'd be an awfully long time, wouldn't it?
Well, it's quite short of what it used to be. When I first did my first panto at the Grand, we went on until February. And of course, the Grand panto used to go on until Easter. And generally open on Boxing Day and go on until Easter. And I thought when I first started doing panto, not at the Grand, but I used to open on Boxing Day.
How long have you been doing it?
My first panto with the Grand was Christmas 96 into 97. Then I had a couple of years off. I came back for the Millennium Panto, which was Aladdin, and I've been there ever since, you know. But there's a tradition now that pantomime theatres do have somebody who does come back year after year. In Belfast, you know, they've had a dame there for 26 years, far longer than me. In York, there's been a dame there, and there was the fella in Bath who recently died, God rest his soul, who was again there for 20 odd years. And people, I find that comfort in, but obviously they build in a whole cast around you, and the top of the bill, Tony Benidorm, the response, the reaction I've had to that is amazing. I didn't realise so many people watch Benidorm. Do you watch Benidorm?
It's brilliant.
Benidorm,
I don't, but yet I've heard of him and I know his character, so it shows how large.
Everyone go,
oh, he's so funny in it. So funny.
But he's a great actor. He was some of the Harry Potter films. He's worked with Johnny Depp and loads of guys. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to sitting down and chatting to him.
And it's brilliant because when I heard about him, Tony Maudsley, I assumed, it'd just be like a comedian because that's how I class him, as probably you do as well. I don't know if you do as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you said, he is actually a really good actor, and I think it'll be amazing for him to be able to showcase that and for other people to realise as well.
And Swansea, which is quite funny because there's this huge debate at the moment, isn't it, about females in the industry and males in the industry and parity of pay and all sorts of things. But Swansea audiences seem to like a man. They often like somebody from a reality show, which is why Brendan did so well last year, and we've had other reality stars, you know, in previous years. But this fella, the reaction from male and female, fantastic.
Well, it'd be brilliant also to have Matt back, who's on our sofa not so long ago, so he'd be in the pantomime as well.
Matt's coming back. It's his third panto at the Grand. He was sensational in Britain's Got Talent, and we're very proud of him. Brilliant.
Hopefully we'll all look forward to watching it later on in the year.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And also for you to be redoing your dame again.
Yeah, I'll be back.
And hopefully in costume. I'd like to see you back on the sofa.
Well, I've just come from the funeral. I've just come from the funeral. I'm just looking, you know, estate agents. They got the same suit as me.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
And today...
Don't forget, next on Bay TV, we have our afternoon matinee movie. Today it's drama Summertime, starring Katharine Hepburn.
See you then.